Hair loss can make you question your health, your confidence, and even your identity. In this episode, we're uncovering what androgenetic alopecia really is so you can move forward with clarity and with hope. So let's get started. Do you want healthy, full, manageable, natural hair and simple solutions, but struggle with finding safer options you can trust and want to take all of your time and energy to search? If so, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Ashley, wife, mom, and Jesus BFF. I learned the secret of how to care for my hair and save time while maintaining it. Holistic care. So if you're ready for healthy hair, better health, and faith that helps you stay consistent, grab your comb, your brush, and your Bible because it's time to grow. Hello, beautiful, and happy Tuesday. Okay, so I want to start off with this question. Have you ever truly looked at yourself in the mirror and you looked at your hair and you wondered, what is going on with my hair? You notice something that's slightly different, but you can't really pinpoint what it is. Or maybe you're looking at your old photos of yourself and you're like, when I do this hairstyle, it looks slightly different now when I do it. You don't know what it is, but you know there's something that happened. I want to let you know that I've been there because that was exactly my story. So this journey was actually very recent. I'm talking about towards the end of 25. That's when I truly paused and I took a good look at myself in the mirror. And I knew that something was completely off, but I wasn't sure where to pinpoint the problem. See, already had like a solid routine. I was washing my hair consistently, doing all the things that my hairdresser told me to do. But still yet, every time I went to the hairstylist, she would say, what is going on with your edges? Now, I was taking care of my edges. I did have some issues before with my hairstyles and all the things, but I truly was being intentional with my edges and even using my hair oil to supplement that. And so I thought that was it, but still yet, my pictures were looking slightly different. And even when I looked at myself in the mirror, I said, something is very off. Now, another thing that happened was I had my baby in 2024. So I was slowly getting out of that postpartum phase. And so I wasn't sure if that was the last bit of that postpartum or what else was going on, but I couldn't get to the root of it. Now, the other thing about me is that I've always had a higher hairline. God bless me with a higher hairline. And that was one of the things I would cover up a lot later on as I grew up because I got picked on a lot when I was a child and it triggered and caused a lot of trauma to me. And so that was one of the things I would cover up. But looking at my hair during this time towards the end of 2025, I was like, I know my hairline was high, but it wasn't this high before. So I wasn't sure what was going on. And that's when I started to really go on a deeper dive into what was going on with my hair. The Lord began to walk me through it. What ended up happening was that I found a dermatologist's office that wasn't so far from my home, which was actually operated by a lot of physician assistants. So I didn't even get a chance to see a dermatologist, but the physician assistant, she was awesome, very patient, very kind. And what happened was between her and the other assistants that were there, they took pictures of my hair and pictures of my scalp, and they also got like a history of my family as far as hair and all the things, and that was pretty much it. And so I didn't get a diagnosis or anything, but what happened was she gave me the option to get like a scalp biopsy to see what was the cause of it. What ended up happening was that I got a scalp biopsy. Now I thought this was pretty cool because my first job was actually being a histotech. So we would process all the skin samples you would get from a dermatology office so they could properly diagnose the patient. We would prepare the slides and everything. So being on the other side of that, I thought that was pretty awesome. So what happened in the room in the office was that she had this hole puncher, which looked very similar to like a hole puncher for paper, but like a single hole punch stamp. And so they numbed the area that I was experiencing some thinning, and then they used the hole puncher and they kind of like took a sample. So it was like a small circle that they took from my scalp, and they sent it over to the pathologist, and they had to stitch me up a little bit and just tell me like not to use any product or anything in that area so it wouldn't get affected. But it was pretty fast fast and pretty quick procedure, so that was fine. I got my results back, and the physician assistant said that it was androgenetic alopecia. Now, when I heard that diagnosis, I was like, what do you mean? Because I'm doing all the things right. This doesn't make sense. But later on, the Lord showed me that it was actually a misdiagnosis. And I'm going to share more of that story with you as I talk about why early identification matters. But let's go back to the beginning. What is androgenetic alopecia? So what exactly is androgenetic alopecia? Well, it could be male pattern baldness or female pattern baldness, and the source of it is hereditary. And so when there is an increased sensitivity to androgens, then that's what causes the hair to thin out. Now you may be wondering, well, how does this alopecia look different from the other alopecias that's out there? Well, this kind, you can recognize it by at the top of your scalp. So you'll see that there's thinning across the scalp with your hairline still intact. And your hair part, it actually starts to get wider versus a receded hairline. Now, this is where things get even more interesting. I know you're probably like, Ashley, this is already interesting enough, but no, it gets even more interesting. Genetics and hormones, they play a big role behind this. So if this is a part of one's genetics, that means that their hair follicles are extra sensitive to androgens, mostly DHT. And so if we just focus on the genetic side of things, a person could be polygenic, means getting the genes from either parent. And if that parent experienced hair loss or they have a gene, it maybe didn't trigger the parent, but just because they have that gene and they pass it down to the child, that child has a chance of receiving alopecia. Androgenetic alopecia, Another sign when it comes to genetics is that anywhere within that first degree of relatives that you have, if they experience hair loss, then that could also increase the chance that the child could experience androgenetic alopecia, right? It gets real, guys. And that's just the genetic side of things. But if you look at the hormonal side, we all have a hormone called testosterone. Testosterone, it converts to DHT. And what happens when it converts to DHT is that it could bind to hair follicle receptors. And that triggers the genes that the child or that person have. That's what causes the hair to shrink. And that's what causes the alopecia. So a person could have normal hormone levels. You don't have to have anything. Everything could be going well. And it seems like it just happens. Another thing is that there could be hormonal shifts. So it could be a person that have normal hormones and then the other person, they're having a change in their hormones, especially a person that's post-menopausal. That means their estrogen and progesterone had dropped, and now there's an excess of androgens. This also is the case with someone that has PCOS. So that's another thing to look out for as well, because a person with PCOS, that is disrupting their endocrine function. And so when that happens, then that could cause an excess of androgens as well. Now that we know what all of this is, let's go back to my original story. So I went back to the doctors and they started me on this treatment briefly, only for me to later find out that I was misdiagnosed, and this was from the Lord. Now, how often do we test every word underneath the fire to see if it's true or not according to God's word, and if we should walk down that path? That's exactly what I wasn't doing in this story. See, I was in the doctor's office, they did the test, they did everything right by the book, and so when I got those results, I thought it had to be true because they did all the things, quote unquote, which was right, until I paused and I realized that maybe I need to go to the Lord about this. And so when I went to the Lord about it, that's when he showed me that I was actually misdiagnosed. Even though they did everything right by the book, it was deeper than what they were showing me. So one of the first places that the Lord directed me back to was my pathology report. Now, I read this several times, front and back, side to side, crisscross applesauce. I did all the things. I thought I read this in detail, guys. I really thought I did. But this time he wanted me to slow down long enough in order to really see the full detail of it. And it's the same thing like when you read in scriptures and everything, you could just read it for what it is, or you could slow down and meditate on it, and then you get a whole nother revelation. And so that's what he wanted me to do with the pathology report. And so all this time I was reading that I had androgenetic alopecia. This time, once he took the scales off my eyes, or once I saw it for what it really said, it was saying that it was early signs of it it could be early signs of it. And it also worded that it was very subtle and they wasn't absolute. So they were using words like that to say that they're not completely sure. But based on the signs, this could be it. And that's what they were saying. Then he continued to show me everything in full detail, from my routine to my habits. Everything was lining up and piecing together with how I was seeing my hair and how it was affecting my hair. And so this also began the journey of me going deeper into how I understood hair as well. So how can addressing this early on set you up for success later? Well, the first thing that I want you to know is that when you're able to recognize patterns with your hair and just different changes throughout your hair, especially if you're one that experienced hair loss before the age of 30, this could be a sign that something deeper is happening within your body. It could be a sign of hormonal imbalance, diabetes, obesity. There are so many things that it could be triggered from, but by recognizing the sign with your hair, now you're able to walk into the doctor's office with confidence and address the different symptoms and signs and truly be an advocate over your health. Another thing that you could do when you identify this early on is that now you're able to have different treatment options and have a better outcome when it comes to that. Some people, they have great success when they have minoxidil. Some people don't. And that's because what's also going in deeper within the body. So you're able to address it from that standpoint as well. Another thing that happens when you address this early is that you're able to keep all of your existing follicles. Now, this type of alopecia, it happens gradually. So taking before and after pictures is a great way to track it and to see what's happening with your hair over time. But when you start to notice a change and you start to see shrinkage and everything, now you're able to go to the doctors and address that. And by getting those treatment options early, you're able to slow down the shrinkage. And the last thing that happens is when you identify this early, it does something to your self-esteem. You don't have to hide your hair and you can walk confidently everywhere because now you address that issue. If today's episode gave a name to what you've been experiencing, I know it may have brought up emotions as well. Hearing the words androgenetic alopecia or female pattern hair loss can truly feel overwhelming. You may be wondering, will my hair keep getting thinner? Is there anything I could do? Or have I been wasting time and money on the wrong products? I understand those questions because I've been there too. After losing so much of my edges at one point and dealing with dryness and all the things, no matter what I've tried, I know how discouraging it can feel. But here's what I want you to remember. A diagnosis is not the end of your story. The more you understand what's happening, the better equipped you are to make informed decisions about caring for your hair. So if you're ready for guidance instead of trying to figure it out all on your own, I'd love to support you, my friend. This week only, my holistic hair and wellness strategy session is on flash sale for $57, which is regularly at $97 throughout this whole week. Well, up to Thursday, July 9th. So please visit cultivatinginnerbeauty.com to book your session, and together we'll create a plan that helps you care for your crown with wisdom, confidence, and purpose. Now, if this episode has spoken to you, then I pray that it will continue to bless you. And also, I want you to share with someone else that comes to mind, because trust me, you're not the only one that's in this boat or have been trying to figure this all out on your own. Please share it with someone, and also join my hair and wellness community where you will get weekly hair tips as well as faith and wellness tips as well. With that said, I will talk to you next time. Bye, beautiful. Hey, beautiful. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share with a friend who may want to care for their hair without overwhelm and confusion? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It lights me up to feel the love when I know the podcast is helping you. Well, I'm off to care for my crown, drink my water, and stop touching my hair. I'll meet you back on Tuesday for another quick episode. Love ya!